joining First Word Live. I'm Rhonda Coe, and my guest this afternoon is Milton Hobbs. I'm delighted that he is with us. Thank you for joining. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me start by saying something that's simple but very, very honest. Faith was never meant to stand still. It was never meant to be confined to four walls or to a Sunday experience. Faith was always movement, alive, dynamic, speaking, serving, doing, reaching places where people needed it most. And yet, if we're honest, there is definitely a gap between our faith and what the community needs. And so it's my hope that this conversation will help to close the gap, mobilizing the church so that we're not just speaking or just serving those among us, but we're actually making an impact on those that need it most. And while there are needs within the church, there is also a great need outside of it. So I'm glad you're here to help me talk about it, to help me navigate this conversation. So let's talk first about yourself and the Faith Action Center that was formerly known as the Office of
Faith-based
Faith-Based
initiative.
Initiatives. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you're
first of all, thank you so much for having me on, and I love this format, and I'm just praying right now to God that this reaches hundreds of thousands, millions, if possible, because of the work you're doing. So thank you, and of course, I saw you in person in action working, so I know of the value you have to the body of Christ, but also to the community of New Jersey. And so just for a background, so I am a second generation. So my father was a pastor. So I grew up, so I've been doing church work my entire life. And my father did a tremendous job. I wish I could be one third, one tenth of what he's done. He started at work in East Orange. We were in East Orange, New Jersey, and we started a very small in a basement of someone's house. And he grew that ministry to over 1,000 people. And so that was, and all during those years, there was different things happening. But I think where we are now and what happens and what I'm a product of is that process of going from the small gathering to large. And sometimes we get confused if that is the focus.
Mhm.
That's what it's about. No, it only went large because of the service to the community. And so people were being helped and served and loved on and all that. And so those people came. It wasn't as if we had a crew and we decided to meet at a building. It became a crew that needed a building.
Yeah.
Very different process. And at the point that you think you've arrived, that's when you start to go back and you start to regress instead of progress.
Yes.
And so those are the things I'm hoping. And I've got it, it was so wonderful because I got into the business of community development totally by accident. I was like everyone I knew. I was just a church baby, and I was there. I worked full time at the church, and I was doing what I thought was just the wonderful work of the Lord.
Mhm.
And my father asked me he was angry that there were some things that weren't being done in our immediate community where the church was, and said, talk to the mayor. At the time was Cardell Cooper. Talk to the mayor. And I was young and arrogant and didn't know any better. I was like, I want to talk to the mayor. And he was gracious enough to hear from me. And he sat there and looked at me. I guess he's like, this kid is crazy. And he
Wisdom.
said, are you serious? He asked me that one question. I said, yes, sir. I'm very serious. No. Are you serious about moving and making something happen? Yes. From that, yes, I'm here today because he put me in some wonderful classes. The nonprofit network of New Jersey, which now they've morphed, but with Diane Sterner and all those people was my first trip. And all through these years, I've been just entrenched. And finally, the last 20 years until 2020, I worked for the city of East Orange. I no longer work for the church. So I was on both sides, the nonprofit side and also on the government side. So I had that full gamut of experiences that only happened because I said yes to a
Yeah.
question that are you serious? And I thank God for that because I could have, could have went terribly wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know where I would be right now. But that's kind of my background and how I
Mhm.
got there. And I worked there 20 years, retired, so I thought,
Uh-huh.
and I got a call from the state of New Jersey in 2023, 20 something like that. What is it, 2023? My good
Mhm.
friend Ed Laporte at the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, and he asked, once again, are you serious?
Okay.
And do you want to do something? I said, of course, Eddie. And I thought we were just having lunch like we always did. And next thing I knew, he created a position for me, the Sustainable Development Liaison for the state of New Jersey. And just recently, just this Wednesday, the new governor came and we've expanded they've expanded that to the Faith Action Center. And
Okay.
there, and so that's where we are now. And so many things are happening relative to that. I can't even express them all, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it
All right, you do that. It sounds like God's been in it all the way from the
all the time, all
beginning.
the way. Yes, yeah.
So what is the Faith Action Center doing? What's its mission then?
All right, I'm gonna give you now. Let's have some. We need context.
All right.
So the governor got in January.
Mhm.
This is May 1st.
Okay.
So, and they were going and January 20th, late January. So let's say February. And so over the last 3 months or 100 days, right? They've been just seeing what they're going to do. And I think sometimes we overestimate what people can do who are brand new, just coming in. They first got to find out where the restrooms are, where
Okay.
the, where the restaurant. That's a couple of weeks right there, and all the things,
Okay.
and how this whole thing works. But the what came out of Wednesday, and it hit all of us pretty much new, even those of us who worked there, and all that from our newest director. So we have Ed Laporte is no longer the director, but they've assigned a new gentleman, and this pastor, Dr. Samaj Van Zant.
Mhm.
And Samaj is a wonderful young man. He works. He's worked. His work has been with the Baptist. Um, I forget the organization, but Baptist organizations, and that, and they'll have 300 member organizations that he's been president. He's president of, and so he's an up and coming young talent, and I'm grateful to work with him. But
Mhm.
what came out the meeting was simply this: that he wanted this message cascaded. So I'm glad I have this forum.
Yeah.
He wants to say that he's looking, the state is looking for us to mobilize, right, and come up with. He said this out of his own mouth. I'm sure they taped it. That he's looking for 1 million people, 1 million volunteers. Excuse not people, a
Uh-huh.
million volunteers that as the family of faith, right? The churches and the mosques and the temples and synagogues as we unite around the needs of our community. That we have 1 million volunteers that are addressing these various needs. And he's counting on the faith leaders then to orchestrate this. To you get your 100, I get my 50, somebody else get their 2,000, and we all work together in unity. That's the goal. Now that was Wednesday. Now it's Friday.
Mhm.
So we got to
Listen.
start. We got a couple of days of rest, but
All
now
right.
we got to start. How do you make that come to fruition? Becomes, I think, the question you're asking.
Yeah.
What is that going to look like
Yeah.
on the ground?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got this vision, this is what he wants. It sounds like it's very clear, and it sounds like we've got to bridge the gap, and we're bridging it by everyone coming together. And that means it's just not the Baptists, right? It's not just about Pentecostals. It's not just about Catholic churches. It's everyone. And has that been an issue before? Where people are of the same mind and are able to bridge the gap regardless of the faith. So do you see this vision being a challenge to some houses of worship?
No, I think it's the greatest challenge in Christendom today, in religion today. Yeah, of course, religion and I'm not even talking about, I mean, way before we were here, religion in and of itself has been divisive, right? I mean, wars have started over religion, and people got, I mean, come and kill each other, all that stuff, because we have different views. So we can't, we can't gloss over that as if that didn't happen, and if that doesn't still happen to a large degree. But I think what we have to begin to call on is our greater faith and the unity of faith through in God, and let God do that for us. And I believe there's a remnant. I don't know that that's going to be overarching and everybody's going to sing kumbaya, but
Mhm.
I do know that, and this is my faith speaking, that God has a remnant that He has called for this time and this day, and so the need is so tremendous. And I want to say this as well to everybody, all your listeners. The state of New Jersey and all the others. This is not just happening in New Jersey. What we're doing is happening. California is light years ahead of us in so many things, especially as it deals with development. New York is jumping on, the bigger states. New Jersey's coming forth. So it's all over the country. And none of them are asking us because they love us so much. They're asking us to jump in because the need is so great, they don't know where else to turn.
Yeah.
So I think we have to understand that now. Finally, people's like, wait a minute, let's call the churches. They can do this. You remember they said only
Yeah.
a couple of years ago that the churches were not needed. Remember when COVID came out, they said,
Yes.
oh, we weren't essential.
Mhm.
Now they're saying you're very essential.
You need it.
You
Hey,
need.
yes. So that should incite us, to get mobilized, okay? Some churches, though, I believe, want to serve,
Mhm.
but they struggle with a vision for how to engage. So how to put that vision in place. So what do you see as the biggest barrier? Is it the vision, or is it engaging the congregation to make that impact? Or is it the same?
Yeah. If I may take this time to do a shameless plug and commercial,
Okay, go ahead.
uh, I work on that separately from the state with a group that we've been working with in the state of New Jersey called the Faith-Based Alliance of New Jersey, the Faith-Based Alliance of NJ. And I'm sitting here, matter of fact, I'm sitting in my guest room slash office
Mhm.
with,
It's
I mean,
all good.
I have
But
volumes of stuff that we wrote up and to cascade this message and and I think you're asking the right question. The biggest things is, first of all, having a determination. What is your ecclesiastical determination?
Mhm,
And so you have to marry a theology with the work you're prepared to do. And so I go back to Habakkuk. It says, write the vision, make it plain.
mhm,
And I learned this also just recently, maybe just yesterday, when I learned that God said, Habakkuk, write the vision.
mhm.
Yes, yes, Lord. I didn't ask you to run. I said, you write it so the others could run. And
Wow.
so part of my problem has been I've been trying to write it every
And done.
He said, stop running, get some competent people that can take what you're saying. And so that means I have to be very, very uh, um, proficient in what I'm writing and go over it and over and over it again to make sure that I'm clear. Write it so it's clear enough. And so we've written up almost a 7 point. I won't go over all 7 points, but the bottom line is the first point is you got to clarify your vision,
Mhm.
right? First, and then the determination. Does your parish, church, whatever, have the wherewithal to do this? The answer typically is we have some deficiencies. I don't have enough money. I don't have the skill set. And so what we're coming to, and I said this is a shameless plug, what our organization does is we start from the very beginning to explain what a 501c3 is, as you so eloquently did in your training, what it is, how it works, why you need one, if you want to get into this area, and then walk you through that to developers and to other folk. So the biggest problem, to answer your question directly, is the education, right? And the education, and that you have the correct information. Even if you don't want to do it, at least know that I don't want to do it from credible information, not from what I heard on the streets, not from what others told me. This is not what God is leading me to do.
Mhm.
And I'm fine with that. But I hear too many people saying, well, the government's trying to take my building. You know, it's so many things. Where'd you get this information from? So we
Yeah.
just want to cascade. Here's the credible information. Here's how you activate whatever your vision is in this system. And
Okay.
we're here also to support you in that. So sorry for a commercial break
No, it's
there,
fine
but
because now my next question is, so, are you planning on making this resource available to
oh yeah,
houses? Okay,
yeah,
so how would they, obtain this information, become a part of creating, what you're sharing?
certainly. Well, two things. One, with our own internal marketing, and we're working feverishly on that. But I'm
Okay.
going to have, just for information's sake, we have like our introduction to this training every month. So we had one last month. We'll have one this month coming. This is the first, right? On the 12th.
Yes,
We have
yes.
it on the 19th of June, and we're going to have it. And they're right now they're in person, but I'm going to try my best this one. But by June, certainly we're going to have it where it's both broadcast live like we're doing now,
Okay,
also recorded so that we could just send it to you if people are interested. We could send the recorded version, out, and it's free of charge. Right now, our next two are in Piscataway, but then we'll be down. We're going to go to South Jersey, and we got a location in Camden.
good.
And so, and then North Jersey, we have a location in Jersey City. And so we're going to quarterly. So this first quarter is here in Piscataway, which just happens to be like down the street from my house. It's kind of
Right. You
convenient,
live there. Yeah,
but because I wanted to make sure it works, the
yeah,
concept works. And yeah. And then when we go to South Jersey next, and then at the end of the year, we'll be up in the Jersey City area for those 3 months. So we're going to do a 3 month, you know, um, stint of and the same
o
content. And so if you miss it here, you could just drive down to Camden on the next go around if you missed it. So
okay.
that's our plan. That's how we're going to answer your question. How we're going to get this out there, but also, and I got to be very careful, because I do work for the state as well, so I don't take state state names and addresses, but I do ask some leniency with respect to, and they've been so gracious to at least making the commercial like this at
Mhm.
the events, and so because it was overwhelming on Wednesday. We got registered over 1,000 people
Wow.
registered. So yeah, it's like if we have events like that, you get 1,000 a time, and those 1,000 tell 1,000, we'll be
Mhm.
fine.
You'll get that vision.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we'll be
Okay.
we'll be all
All
right.
right. So this is great, and I want to commit to making whatever information becomes available to me to sharing it on social media. So that's my
Okay.
commitment.
Okay.
And I know you're doing your marketing, but I want to share that as well. So now, does this vision, does this information help folks to carve out the need they see within the community, or is that some extra assignment or exercise they need to do? Because if you look at cities like Trenton or New Brunswick or Burlington City, there's a need, but you don't quite know what it is. How do you avail yourself to that type of information?
And those are the key things. As a matter of fact, in our classes, and that's they're and we break them up purposely into three different classes because it's too much to cover, in one, and just the terminologies alone and some of the things. And so what we do is like, once you make your determination that what you think, then you have to check with your city. You have to check first. You got to check with your congregation to see that you got to get internal permissions. However your organization works, you need that. But you also need to talk to your government. And you also need to talk to your community, and there are processes there, to do that. And so we walk you through those things as homework assignments.
Okay.
So before I would ever introduce a church or faith-based organization to a developer or to a social service agency, I want to make sure that you have all that done, your survey, all that. So because it becomes a moot point and it becomes waste of time if two parties are not on the same page. So we'll make sure when you come, you're grant ready, you are program ready,
Awesome.
Yeah, so might have property, but you might be cash poor, but you're information rich. And
That's
in this business and any of these things, that it is the person who's most ready, especially. And I know part of this conversation are people. The reason why we had 1,000 people sign up and all these people come to the event was everybody wants some money. I mean, that's the elephant in the room. Everybody, like, how can I get some of the state money? Well, the only people and everyone, I know what the people are going to say. They're going to give it to their friends. They're going to give it to the no. They give it to who's ready.
mhm,
They give it to who's prepared.
right.
And so it's like anything else in life. If you're not, so now that information about preparedness,
Yes.
readiness, I'm saying we can give that out to you for free. You don't have to go into be in the dark. We're
Yeah.
going to give you this, and we're going to sit down with you. And so we're offering that. And it's not just me. I'm speaking, but I have a whole team of, we have some 20 some odd lead pastors and other leaders. And this is multi-faith organization that will sit down and talk to you about this, who are professors in it. So we will do that. But you have to make the first step, say, I'm interested. Raise your hand like you do in school, like
Yeah. Can
I, I, yeah, you gotta say what I said. I'll do it.
right.
I'm serious. And those persons, when I talk about the remnant, that's what are you at least serious? So I really want to do something, and that something is there for you to do. Trust me, there's more than enough to do, but you gotta have to make the first step and just hear out and commit that time and energy to that. So
How does I believe in my heart that there are pastors and leaders that really want to commit. They really want to say yes. As a pastor, how does a leader transition from preaching compassion to actually practicing it in a tangible way?
yeah, and I'm gonna say, remember I made the analogy about Habakkuk.
Yes.
You don't. This is what you do, because that's the biggest mistake that I made. So please don't make the mistakes I made.
Okay.
Get somebody else, empower someone else, because I know and others who are listening, I'm sure there's a lot that a pastor has to do in attending to the flock, if you want to use that analogy, right?
Mhm,
People need all the stuff. You can't stop doing that,
mhm.
because that's your calling. That's what it is. But this other calling to go to the community and go to the hedges and the highway, you can't go to the highway and hedges and also be the hospital where they come.
Mhm.
So so even a hospital has the EMT, right? They have
Yes,
the folk that go and get the people and bring them.
yes.
We don't have, in our culture, we don't have the EMT. We say, Pastor, you got to do that too. And so you have a bunch of burnt out pastors who are trying to go out and witness, preach
Right,
on Sundays, mop the church on Saturday,
it's true.
fix the roof on Monday. You
Right,
can't do it.
too
So
much.
I tell all pastors, I don't even want you in my class. I don't want you. You can come to the first class. After that, I don't want to see you anymore. Who are your trusted others? You need, and others with an S. Who are your trusted? Send 2, 3, 5 people to come and learn this and bring and trust that they'll bring it back to you in a way, and because you're not going to catch all of this. As you know, this has been an education I've gotten over 30 years. I
Yes.
cannot tell you 30 years worth of things in a classroom, and of course we want to make people think we're so smart. We bring up all these terms. What's it? CDFI,
Right, yeah.
CRA,
I
and
know it all.
Chodo,
Yeah.
and people sit there like
What?
mesmerized as
Mhm.
if I'm brilliant. I'm not brilliant. I just remember these acronyms. But you need these acronyms, and you need to know what they are. And so you don't, as a pastor, need to do that. Your team does, and I think that has been, um, if there's been a failing, and as I'm talking about the Black church in particular that I know so well, that I think if there's been a failing, that's been the failing that we've expected one or two in the organization to run the whole thing while the rest of us just come to church and clap and sing and go home as if all is well. No, it takes all of us together, and we need to be able to bring, and that's what the state, and when they talk about the million people,
Mhm.
they actually think that we have the pulse of everybody sitting in those pews. They actually think that. I didn't give them any, I didn't tell them people that that's not true. I just,
That's what they think. Yeah.
They actually believe that you can get all those 100 people in your church to volunteer. Well,
Maybe not.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe a handful. What's the number?
So, all right,
16%, something like
yeah,
that. But yeah.
but the opportunity is there. And so
Mhm.
what we need to do is talk both ways. All right, they're here. They come every Sunday. They come to Bible study, all that. How can we turn, not all of them, we're not unrealistic, but how can we turn a great deal of them to what's in their hearts already? I
Yeah.
don't know if we asked that as pastors. Yeah, what is it that you like to do? We might be shocked to know, like, I want to serve seniors. You do? I didn't know that. I want to feed hungry. I really wanted to do that. I just didn't have a means. So I joined the choir instead. I can't even sing, but
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
that's a subject for another
That's
day.
what I Yeah, that's what I
But
wanna do.
yeah,
But go
but
ahead.
yeah, because you didn't have that other outlet. So I think those become that's what we're seeing. Those outlets will come and where people. So I think it'll be easier, but you can't. The leader has to be the one to articulate, right?
Yes,
Going back to the back end, so that the people who are the runners can
yes,
run, and
yeah.
we have to identify. And maybe I'll take that back. We don't have to identify nothing. Excuse me, Lord. The Lord will identify the runners. I keep
Okay,
trusting. I keep trying to.
okay.
The Lord will, as you cascade the information, the Lord will send
Mm,
whom He wants to send to
mm.
run with the message He wants ran. Woo!
That's good right
I
there.
just got that. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, yeah, and I was thinking about Moses too, he had to select when his father-in-law said, "Hey, you can't do this all by yourself," right?
That's right. That's right.
You need certain people who are able to carry that responsibility. Yeah,
That's
that's
a good
good.
example. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wanna go back to this partnership conversation because many churches are very accustomed to working in isolation, you know? And if we're going to meet the need of the community, it means working with other people. Not too long ago, I talked to a pastor here in Burlington County, and she said that she wants to work with community or nonprofit organizations that provide for the homeless, who work with those with mental health issues. And she wasn't sure how to go about doing that. So while we're accustomed to working in isolation, as you said, there is this need. So, what role does partnerships with either local government or other nonprofit organizations play in effective faith-based impact? So, for that church who's afraid or not used to working with other people, other organizations, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them something, and I'm going to make this to the extent I have any influence at all at the state. I'm going to make the suggestion that if you don't partner, don't give them any money because the project's not going to get done.
Okay.
So that's number one. So if you hear that, I did it. So and I hope I don't get shot. Don't
Okay.
run down the street because I'm telling you, it won't, it's the ask is too large, and you don't know what you don't know, and there's too many things. And so in that partnership model, right? What is it? What's the old adage? Many hands make light work.
Mhm.
And so not only many hands make light work, many hands get it done. Period. This is why I love development so much because you have to partner. You have to have an architect, an engineer, an attorney, an accountant, contractors that do the people that do sheetrock don't do plumbing, plumbers are not electricians. And so by the time you have done a project, you have teamed up with a variety of folk.
Right.
And now that's why you see that building. Wow. And we're all wowed by the building, but
Yeah.
you don't understand the partnership that it took to make that come to fruition. And the same thing has to happen in the houses of faith. We have to be savvy enough. We have to mature enough to say, okay, um, my faith. We're not trying to change anybody's faith or your. You do what you do on Sundays on your Bible study. We're asking for a Monday theology, and a
Mhm.
Monday theology that says, okay, Sunday I do this, you told me to go love on Sunday. You told me to be gracious. You told me to do these things. Now Monday is my time to do that. And so now for me to do that and to carry the weight of it is too heavy for me to carry. So Sister Rhonda, can you help me carry this, please?
Mhm.
And you're gonna say, you know what? I got somebody. And before you know it, we got a bunch of hands carrying what
Yeah.
seemed impossible, but we did our part so that I can go back on the following Sunday and hear what else the Lord is saying to do
Yeah.
the following Monday. So I think that's how we marry it. We're not diminishing ministry. Actually, we're putting more to. We're saying what I heard God say
Yeah.
is so registered in my heart. I'm ready. As soon as I leave out of here, I'm not going home to relax. I'm going home, put on my work clothes to
Yeah.
do that, from my church clothes to my work clothes, to do the work God has called me to do. That's really what we're looking for. And I think, not think, Lord is bringing us there by hook or crook. We're coming to that point that we have to do the work. I
Yeah.
don't know if I answered your question. I think I got
Yes.
off. I started preaching for a minute.
You
Sorry.
did. When you started talking about that money, it's like, oh, so if I want the money, I've got a partner,
Oh
and
yeah, no, yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's key because it's just not possible to do alone, especially if you've got a large vision,
yeah,
right? It's just
yeah.
not possible.
Right, and also it doesn't one-offs. If I could just digress for 1 second, because this is new to me as well in
Mhm.
terms of a concept. What I'm gonna say is new to me. I met. I've been going around the state for the last 2 years, and I'm trying to get all these people development ready.
Yes.
As I met this young man who went to school with my son, so I'm going to impart to him all this wisdom I have, because I know this stuff. I know what I'm talking about. And
Hmm.
we go out to lunch. He's a young developer. He's done some stuff, and I'm telling him all about how to do it. And he said, I love what you're saying, but I'm really not interested. And I was taken back a little bit, like, what? He said, because what my interest is, I don't want to do some development. I want to develop a whole community. And when he said, I was like, oh my goodness, it just hit me like a ton of brick. This young man has the vision. He's
Hmm.
saying, I don't want to just do a one-off building, even though I could be rich, I could have money. He said, but what about the rest? What about all? So it's all connected. What about the retail? What about the social service components? What about, so when you have this house of worship in the middle, it should be resonating to the economy, resonating to your home, resonating to your health, and all the things. He said, so we start talking then. If you have and watch this.
Yeah.
This is how good God is. We have especially in your inner cities, you have churches everywhere, sometimes across the street from each other.
Yeah.
He said, can you imagine? Here's the unity that we have a partnership where everybody's involved. Everybody, every church is a part of it, and and they have one partnership, joint partnership that everyone has a piece. Your job is health. Your job is food. Your job is that, and the money is available there to do all that, to change the entire scope of that area that we're trying to talk about. So he just changed. He blew me away with that. I said I had never. I guess I'm still a product of the old school. I say I'm not,
Yeah.
but when I talk, it comes out that
Yeah.
I've been jaded.
Yes. But I think this new generation thinks that way. They think
Yes,
differently
yes,
because I've heard that concept before. The problem is that they don't often know where to go and how to kick that off, how to make it a reality, and they don't know how to fit the pieces together and what piece goes first, and to kind of create that the timeline and the partnerships and all the people you've got to talk to, and perhaps even where that synergy starts. So I mean, that is the change many of our communities need.
that's it, and that's what we're praying. This Faith Action Center understands. They're using the word hub.
All right.
Everybody's saying, "What's the hub?" If you know, I know. I don't know what. I don't know what. I know what hub means to me.
Uh-huh.
I need to ask, what does it mean to the governor and to
Okay.
lieutenant governor from a practical standpoint? Because I think what you're saying is exactly what I see and what this young man was talking about. Exactly. You have hubs where the resources flow from out to. That would be beautiful. And we could talk about the processes. And part of the discussion has to be the government itself to change some
Mm.
of the laws and all those things. I
Yeah.
mentioned California, and just for the interest of those who are doing development, California has made some legislation, and I read some of it, but not in its entirety. But it's blown me away. The notion that we call uh, NIMBY, not in my backyard, that which
Yes.
exists everywhere, and
Yes.
they have now, what is it? Gigby, yes, Yigby, yes, in God's backyard. And they actually have legislation they passed. It's a Yigby legislation that's on the desk of our current governor here in New Jersey right now. Well, I don't, it's being proposed. I don't know if it's on her desk yet, but it's being proposed. And that what it was, it makes it easier from zoning perspective for houses of worship to do development. It's specifically legislation that removes some of the barriers. So to your point, because time, you know how much time it takes, all that, we need to be able to move it a little more expeditiously. We need to make it easier for the houses of worship to partner
Yeah.
and so we need everybody at the table to make it happen. But to your point, it starts with us.
Yeah.
It starts
Exactly.
with the people of faith saying, I want to do that. And not even I want to do that. I'll take it back. The question I'm asking anybody, do you feel responsible? The government, it's nice for the government to do, it's nice for nonprofits to do, but the only people who have a mandate to take care of the community is us. Right? When Jesus said, when I was hungry, I'm a priest. When I was hungry, you
Mhm.
didn't feed me.
Yeah.
When I was thirsty, you didn't give me water. When I was homeless, you didn't take me in. When I was destitute, when I was in prison, and when I was sick. And so those weren't suggestions. He said, no, I would be very upset if I come back and you haven't done any
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
And in my experience, I'm confessing now, we've done very little of that. We had a lot of church and we did a lot, but we've done, and so I want to write that whatever timeline I got still here. I want to say, Lord, I did the best I could to promote that and to be a part of that.
Amen. Amen. All right. So, I mean, that this is just so exciting for me. Community is so important. And the only other thing I would say about that is that, often we do community. What we do is a service. We provide a service, but the service is not in our community. And what I mean by that, those in the community aren't benefiting.
Mm.
So you may have people that are living outside of the community, so a mile from the church or 10 blocks or more from the church. And so when I think community, I'm thinking people that live in the backyard, people who I'm touching, who I touch, people who I can draw into the church, not someone who may be living a mile or so away, but those who are closest to me and those who see me coming to church every Sunday, whose lives aren't being touched. Those also are our community.
Oh, that is our community, isn't it? Can I get in trouble again? I'm gonna say something else. I'm gonna end up getting assassinated after
Go
this.
ahead. Go ahead.
But I tell this, and every time we have a class, I said, please remember that your house of worship is sitting on property that you do not pay taxes for, right? But when the police come, you call the police and they come. If you have a fire, the fire department is coming. You put your garbage out, they pick up the garbage. That community that lives right there is paying for that for you. So we do owe them something. And I'm saying the programs, you're right, the program we have should be focused on them, not exclusively, but certainly focus on them. And if others want to participate, especially if they want to donate and do things, yes, but we should look right outside our doors and say, you guys are our first mission. We talk about the mission field. We got a mission. We don't have to look overseas, and that's wonderful as well. But what have you done right in your own backyard? And guess what? From the examples I've seen around the state of New Jersey, some wonderful pastors, all them. Those who have built the community around them, the one thing they never have to worry about
What's that?
is membership because
Yeah.
the people come right from across the street.
Yeah.
What other church are they going to go to?
Yeah.
It's like, why would I go to another church? At my
Exactly.
church, this is the church that built this house for me. This is
Yeah.
a church that has my mother housed and taking care of her. This is the church that fed my kids and have school programs.
Yeah.
It's kind of doesn't make sense for them to go
Yeah,
somewhere. So you've actually built your whole church and your congregation around you, and you brought them close. And so I think that model uh, is can be supported both from theological and also from just a practical standpoint, that it makes sense versus, like as you said, people driving in 20 miles. But you remember, and I know I remember as a child that was never the case. It's just changed morphed over years. Everybody used to walk to church pretty much. Our Jewish brothers and sisters, they still do. They got to live. They can't drive on Sunday, so they got to be close enough to walk over. And so that has changed in our minds. Like we want our church to be in these pristine areas, and that's okay. But then those areas need housing. I'm going to advocate for housing,
that's true.
affordable housing for people to be out there where you are as well.
Definitely. So there's two questions I have before we close, and one has to do with sustainability, how the Faith Action Center intends to ensure that community that houses of worship can sustain the programs they do put in place. And then secondly, what does is that what the Faith Action Center is when they talk about success? So a success is a house of worship that does this, that does that, and does the other. What does success look like, and is sustainability included in the success measurement?
Yeah. So again, new administration. We've had very very low level conversations about what their plans are there in the closed room. I'm not privy to those upper floors. My
Mhm.
my key fob only goes up to a certain height. I can't get in those other doors. But certainly, as I see it at this moment, yes, sustainable development, and a sustainable development. Just so you know, was a name that we changed from. It started being affordable housing,
Mhm.
and it's not affordable housing. We changed it to sustainable development instead. And so I just want to be, kind of clear with that. Uh, but to answer your question more directly, and my phone rang. Am I still visible? Oh, thank you. I hate when that happens. I lose you, but I think you can still see me. I hope you did and hear me. But the programs that they're bringing and success, the color of success for the state is really. I think sometimes we think that the state, and that's even, I worked locally for 20 years. This is whether it's locally, county, or state, or federal. It's the opposite. We don't really have ideas. We just have responsibility to help you. And so our our goal as public servants is to serve your ideas. And so now, if you let us have ideas,
Mhm.
trust me, they will come up with a variety of things. But I think we have to demand that we're sitting at the tables and bring. But we didn't, and that's why I'm starting where I am with the alliance. Is that saying we need to bring to them a coordinated plan, an action plan that was derived from various pastors and imams and folk around the state. And this was what will work for us. And then we need to stand on that plan and work that plan into what the Faith Action Center wants to do, as opposed to waiting to see what the Faith Action Center is going to say and then trying to respond to those RFPs and the grants. It's the hardest thing. I try to teach this even in grant writing. Chasing grants is like a dog chasing your tail. You're never going to catch it. You're going to always morph into something that you didn't want to be
Yeah.
because you're trying to get, oh, there's $25,000 over here, $50,000 over there. Don't, no, this is who I am. And and I'm this because I know for a fact that this is what my community needs. I know for a fact, and I'm not going to change that. And if you stand on that, you may not happen immediately, but though that will be answered, and especially as you grow your partnerships and say this community saying that, then the funds will come. But I think so I hope I'm answering your question. But I think irrespective of what they may be talking about, we want to make sure that you're talking about us and our plan, not necessarily coming up with a different, because let's say they go away from sustainable housing. Whoa, that's not okay. you
Mhm.
know, and we wait till we got to come out with banners and stuff. But you
Right.
know what was more powerful that, we sent a million man to Washington. Remember the million man
Yes.
march?
Yes.
We sent a million men to Washington and came back and with little done. We'd have been better have a million men send one man to Washington with a plan.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that would be powerful.
Right.
But just us mobilizing outside is wonderful for for notoriety and for television and for media. But what we really want is we want to seat at the table. And I'll really shut up with this. I was taken back to know that on the state's finance board, the folk that sit around and talk about that, and I was talking to this person that will remain nameless,
Mhm.
and I was talking to her, and she said there was nobody from the faith community on that board, and and she was like, I never thought about that before. And this is a
Hmm.
long time person. Said there's no one at the table saying, "Excuse me, this is how the pie should be cut up. There should be some for the faith community." We got to get on there.
Yeah.
We got to get on there, and we got to have someone. Doesn't have to be me. Maybe it sounds like it might be you.
Yeah.
You might be the person,
I don't
but
know.
yeah, you got to be there and say, "Hey, excuse me,
Yeah.
we're here, we're represented," and then they'll ask you, "What do you want?" And we have to have a unified ask.
Right.
Like this is what we need, right? And not be selfish. And this is how we're going to distribute it. And these are the criteria for participation.
Well, I asked the question, and thank you for clarifying that. And I just wanted to comment that the question was really born out of churches like events, right? But when you start talking about partnerships and so forth, you really are you really then start talking about how are we able to sustain the partnership? How are we able to continue getting funding for this vision? And so we've got to be able to demonstrate that we can sustain it over the next 5 years or 10 years, and we put all of that in place when we apply for grants, and then of course we measure our successes as we go along. But I believe what you're talking about is really something that's bigger than an event, and one that should be sustained over a period of time.
Yes, yeah, you're right. Systemic change is on its way. We must really look at how we're going to move forward if we're really serious about it. As you're saying, it's not event driven. It's talking about changing the very culture with which we do business. It doesn't, and again, the fear that it changes your faith organization, it doesn't. It doesn't touch it at all. You can still have church just like you always did. You could just
Right.
go berserk, do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
But on the other hand, you need some folk who are at at the city council meetings, the town halls, the school board meetings, all these things. You need to do both, juggle with the old folks who say you got to chew gum and walk at the same time.
Yeah.
I never understood quite what that
But
means,
now you do.
but I'm starting to understand it. Yes. And so,
Milton, you have given us a number of charges, which is just wonderful. So, if you could challenge every church leader listening today with one action step to mobilize their congregation immediately, what would it be?
I would say get together a team, right? Get together a team, and that the pastor's not going to sit at the helm. You can sit in on the team and begin to talk about what it is that the vision that you have. Someone be charged with writing that out, and then you're discussing that so that you can cascade that and get input from the congregation. One of the worst things don't want to happen is to have a fractured congregation because of the good you're trying to do. But they say no good deed goes unpunished,
Mhm.
and sometimes you want to do. I have horror stories, my own included, that you try to do that and it gets out wrong,
Mhm.
is articulated wrong, and people are, oh, they're trying to do something to the church. So you want to get your team together, be a tight team, loving team that now we're ready to. This organization is ready to move forward. Before you make any steps, don't go out and run out and get a 501c3 today and stuff like that without having some consultation, some competent people around the table. And of course, my second thing was go to faithbasednj.org
Okay,
.org.
great.
Enjoy and
Now,
sign up for our
good,
classes. And if you
good,
sign up for our classes, that would be wonderful.
wonderful. Okay. It's been a delight to have you on. A simple
Oh,
delight.
I
Thank
enjoyed it so much.
you so much
Yes,
for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot going on, especially with the new administration. But everyone who may be listening knows that at some point there's money coming down the pike. And so
yes,
they should be gearing up for that and for any other gatherings that may be offered to hear more about what the new administration would like to see. All right.
definitely, definitely. All
All
right.
right. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much for having me.
All right.
This is my heart.
I know. I know. It's a pleasure. And I'm so glad that God allowed our paths to cross some few years ago. So wonderful.
Yes, and I will be calling you. You know that.
I do know that. I do.
You can bet on you can
I can
bank
bet.
on that.
And you know
Yes.
different ways to get to me, right? So
Oh
yeah.
no, yeah, definitely, definitely.
All right then. Have
Lovely.
a
Thank you.
wonderful weekend.
All right, you as well. Take care. God
Bye.
bless you all.